Hello, my name is Mary Mack, and I'm the Executive Director of ACEDS, the Association of Certified eDiscovery Specialists. And I want to give you a warm welcome to our summer school on the ACEDS webinar channel. We have a great presentation for you today, a nice product and service showcase that I think you're going to be very excited by. Our wonderful affiliate partner, Ricoh, is sponsoring this, and the title of this webinar is On-Premise Solution that Identifies Potentially Responsive Data Fast, OpenAxes. We're going to be taking a look at how that works. Your questions are always important to us, so if you will put them in the Q&A panel down at the bottom, and you will get a link to the recording with the slides after the presentation. And our presenters today, we have Jody Weber. She is the Information Governance Solutions Consultant for Ricoh. And you can see her contact information on this slide, jody.weber with 2 B's at ricoh-usa.com. For those of you who are listening to this in podcast form, Jody's been working with clients in the information governance and e-discovery industry for years, and she's applying this field knowledge to this particular product and this particular presentation, and she has brought with her Chris Hendrickson from Discount Tire. Chris was the National Coordinating Counsel for Discount Tire for quite a while before he came in-house, and he oversees risk and litigation for the company. He's been an attorney for 28 years and with in-house for 4 years. He's also what I would call a rocket scientist. His degree is in aeronautical engineering technology, and he worked for Lockheed Skunk Works before he went back to college and got his law degree. So we are going to have quite the presentation with the 2 presenters we have, and without further ado, I will hand the baton over to Jody.
Awesome. Thank you, Mary. Welcome, everyone. We appreciate your time today to learn more about Ricoh's OpenAxes offering and how we've partnered with Chris in Discount Tire Organization over the last few years. Since our first introduction, we've partnered with Discount Tire to help them get a better handle on how they proactively govern their electronic assets. A few of the use cases we've partnered on include legal hold, litigation early case assessment, working directly with Chris and his team, provided other stakeholders in the claims department insights to their claims data, assessed risk with the IT security team, file duplication with IT, and retention with Discount Tire Records Department, to name a few. As the trend moves more to the intersection between information governance, security, data analytics, and machine learning, we are continuing our journey with Discount Tire. Industry regulations like GDPR and emerging data privacy enforcement in the United States are continuing to drive organizations to gain control over their information assets. Non-compliance potentially exposes businesses to penalties and potential reputational and brand damage. Chris already has his wheels turning on how to leverage the OpenAxes solution to address these additional data challenges. So, to kick off our theme of guiding enterprises to this data transparency, I would like to start with a quick 2-minute video that actually explains what the Ricoh OpenAxes service is.
Locating data within an organization for litigation, an internal investigation, or compliance can be a daunting task. With data repositories growing and security, regulatory, and compliance measures getting tighter, many organizations now require special software to help them identify potentially responsive data, sometimes on a global scale. But where do you begin? Does your IT department have the bandwidth to acquire software, licenses, and support contracts, and then manage it all? This is why Ricoh offers OpenAxes, a solution that gives organizations complete control of their data so that they can quickly identify potential risks and proactively pull accurate information from their network, whether it's for legal, HR, compliance, audits, or for IT data optimization, including defensible disposition. This on-premise identification, collection, smart culling, and legal hold solution is focused on one goal: to help you identify relevant and responsive data fast. It is deployed behind your firewall or optionally in Ricoh Secure Cloud so that your organization can easily analyze your data where it resides and across unlimited data sources. Ricoh's OpenAxes solution is scalable, defensible, and supported by world-class technology, offered at a fixed price regardless of the amount of data stored or the number of end users. When organizations can get a handle on their data to quickly develop their strategy, they ultimately save time, minimize cost, and mitigate risk. Unlock the intelligence of your data today. To find out more about OpenAxes exclusively through Ricoh, go to openaxes.com.
To reiterate from the video, OpenAxes is an information governance solution that manages data in place. It allows for surgical identification and collection of data. It also offers data and custodian mapping. It has intelligent filtering and data visualization along with legal hold preservation. This is a visual of being installed behind the firewall and reaching out to all your data repositories. This gives you enterprise transparency with a single pane of glass, giving you the ability to understand all your data repositories. Enterprise transparency includes being able to assess risk, apply retention, deduplicate, apply legal holds, and conduct early case assessment. Using OpenAxes technology, including advanced searching and filtering, and machine learning, our customers can separate the wheat from the chaff across multiple data silos at a predictable price point as part of the offering. An additional benefit of the Ricoh service is the ongoing support services to truly work with legal, IT, risk, compliance, HR, and records departments to get their data house in order proactively. You can report and take action based on valid data insights. You can also identify potential risk with the ability to look for ones that are specific concerns for your organization. Finally, you can set and audit retention policies. All right, let's bring Chris into the conversation because he is way more interesting than me. I'm definitely sure my kids would never call me rocket scientist when I tell them to wait for their dad to get home to help with algebra. So as we mentioned, Chris is an accomplished litigation attorney. However, he's equally equipped with a strong business acumen. It's actually one of the many things I enjoy about him. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Jody. Good morning, members of the audience.
So when we first met and started talking about OpenAxes, you saw the use of the software as a means to be proactive about your data management. Can you discuss what concerns you and the organization have about managing your data?
Absolutely. First of all, if anybody can't hear us, please send in a note. The other thing is I'm going to give you the usual attorney in-house disclaimer that the opinions and statements I make are mine personally. They have nothing to do with Discount Tire. They have not been vetted or endorsed by them. With that in mind, I presume you've all signed your NDAs anyway, so we're in good shape. So I walked into this organization as a litigation attorney with the view of legal holds basically being just do it and presume it's been done and don't worry about it because I sent it to corporate and they took care of it, right? Well, you all know the answer to that. And then our universe of legal holds was essentially a manual process. Send out the letter, send out the email, contact the custodians, make sure that they're holding the documents that we can preserve, and then cross our fingers and hope the case settles, frankly, or that we don't get called in for more granular a granular look. And so obviously when I came in-house, I surveyed the landscape and found that the cloud had been invented, Al Gore invented the internet, and a lot of other things had happened along the way. And what was in place for this organization was fine for 2007, but it wasn't fine for 2015. And so, of course, I panicked. I'm a litigator. I need to solve the problems immediately. Of course, I have all the answers and solutions. So I went to work. And I went to work on getting an administration tool, basically, so that we could at least have our arms around this issue with litigation holds and at least have some type of look beyond an Excel spreadsheet. And so to Jody's dismay and Ricoh's dismay, I went and contracted with someone, a competitor, which I have absolutely nothing bad to say about. I think it was a great relationship, but it wasn't what I was looking for. So along came Jody through an introduction with one of my colleagues in-house, and it was just the right place at the right time, I think. And really, what I was looking at was how can I mitigate what is an obvious issue with our litigation holds and our ability to really respond appropriately and effectively while trying to work on a long-term solution. And so really, I went in this with a reverse engineering. And by the way, I couldn't do calculus today if you asked me to do any type of derivative formula. So, but I went in the reverse engineering way, which was how do we mitigate this? How do we get our arms around this from a global standpoint? So I have some level of comfort in knowing that, I'm not sure all the data is on hold. I'm not sure it's in the right place. I'm not sure that we've brought it all together, but let's find it, and let's be able to bring it together if we need to, and let's be able to do it in an efficient manner without hiring outside lawyers, and I know it's really hard for me to say that phrase, and spending a whole bunch of money on it. And so I really backed into the eDiscovery solution for Ricoh through their investigation tool. And if there's one thing, I have a lot of things complimentary to say about Ricoh and Jody and the support from Mark and others. But really, getting on it, responding to what I wanted to get done yesterday, and then having patience to deal with me and this organization are really, really big marks that I would give them. So I don't get any commissions from this presentation today. I'm not on the payroll at Ricoh or OpenAxes, but I truly believe in the product. Why do I believe in the product, and why did we back into the eDiscovery solution? It's pretty simple. They delivered on what I was asking for, and not only did they deliver to us, they delivered to others out there that I talked to, and others that have some pretty big names in the industry. So that's a long answer to a short question, but that's kind of how we got where we're at today.
Awesome. It's funny that Chris calls it reverse engineering, but really it goes in line of what we talk about every day, which is what we try to do with our team, which is be proactive instead of reactive. And that seems like it's been a buzzword in the eDiscovery industry for a long time. But I actually live that now, being proactive about data management every single day. So it's interesting, our evolution started with Chris not in the typical way, because the typical way is reactive, but it was his insight to the business unit and looking at it as he called a reverse engineering, but he really wanted to be proactive. He knew that he had to be proactive to get to the comfort level that he was looking for. So eventually what ended up happening next in our relationship with Chris and Discount Tire is they were hit with a large lawsuit, and unfortunately we did enter into that reactive condition to this specific case. Chris, can you talk about how you leverage the OpenAxes software and service for a large-scale litigation?
Yeah, absolutely. In plain English, it saved my butt. So we were into the eDiscovery lit hold journey, but not completed in terms of getting the getting the platform set up, and then tying into the endpoint so we could actually do holds on electronic data. And so we had the administration piece of it, I'll call it, up and running. It wasn't running as smoothly as I'd like, but that's part of the evolution of what we did. But, you know, and then along comes a notice of service of a rather sizable piece of potential litigation. Fortunately, it was pre-lit because that's what's required to be done in that arena. And hopefully nobody in the audience knows about this case, but I'm not going to mention it specifically anyway. But, you know, I had to immediately dive in and get holds going. We had to hold electronic data, which we had not done ever around here in this organization. And that, I think that's a byproduct of how blessed we are with litigation. But it also, we never saw anything really the scope and magnitude of what we were potentially facing. So, of course, first thing I do is I call Ricoh, Jody, Mark, get on the phone, and then we get our SMEs assembled, and litigation counsel and eDiscovery counsel, who I am forever indebted to because it really, you know, as those teams and those personalities and those egos, frankly, trying to work together is a pretty difficult task, as many of you in the audience probably already know. But I really appreciated the collaboration and what ended up being a huge save for us. Now, fortunately, we got the potential litigation resolved. We didn't have to go into the deep dive of the eDiscovery tasking, but I felt really comfortable and I could sleep at night knowing that we had gathered the data that we were going to need. We had it, you know, set aside. And we had done on the front end, the proactive side in the office here, what probably would have cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars on the outside. And so we were turning over data to our eDiscovery attorneys for the next step, if that step arose, knowing that we had already obviated, negated, eliminated some pretty big steps that would have had dollar signs attached to them. You know, and I think that was a really great dress rehearsal, dry run for the next time, because I feel really confident that we're in a much better spot than probably 80% of the organizations out there that have to deal with this stuff, other than the bigs. Some of you are in the audience, I presume, who have this stuff nailed. But when you don't have an IG department and you don't have an eDiscovery attorney and you don't have any of those assets in-house, I can't tell you just how complicated this could have been. So I really appreciated it.
Just to give you a little bit more insight on that case, in the matter of about a week, we went through 8 terabytes roughly of data, anywhere from regional servers to on-premise to cloud, and that 8 terabytes was reduced down to 49 gigs. That was then pushed into Ricoh's relativity in the Azure environment. So as Chris said, it was a great dress rehearsal to show Chris as well as the different outside counsel who were involved, and everybody after we got through that week was really like, wow, that was a lot of data quick and we're ready to roll. So it's nice, like Chris said, to be working with in-house, outside counsel, the IT departments, and everybody pulling together in the matter of a week to run specific searches and be ready for next steps in the litigation process. So that was a good time. So recently, you've been involved with helping your organization with their information governance strategy. Has the OpenAxes service been helpful with that project? I know it's still very much in the early stages.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, to be continued, and I'm happy to update anybody who wants to know along the way. But, you know, the fact that we're talking about an IG strategy in this office is miraculous. We've only been in business 58 years, so, I mean, we're pretty young, and we're also private, so we get a lot more latitude than the public companies get. And I know you're all nodding in the audience saying, aha, that's why he gets away with what he's getting away with. But you know, we're getting so big now, we got to act like a public corporation. And you know what? The day's coming, and it's already here for a lot of this, where there will be no distinction, especially in the courts. So, you know, that Yeah, so what we're doing now is what many affectionately refer to as a data study. And we're trying to ascertain our endpoints and data flows. Isn't that a miracle? I know you all have that nailed. Congratulations. If you got software that helps track it, please share it with me. But you know that it's no small feat, even in a company with only 20,000 employees. But you know we have some preliminary information that Mark has run for us on, for example, the duplicates that are out there in the data. Just some of the areas where data is that we didn't know it was. You know, the investigations that have been run ahead of time are giving a good perspective on where we need to go when we finally decide where we're going with this. And then the evolution, the pull, as they say in the corporate speak, is starting to happen. You know, IT's talking to me. They're asking me, how can we use this? You know, security's talking to me. How can we use this? HR's talking to me. How can we use this? So, you know, that effect that Ricoh wants to see happen, and I do too, frankly, is finally starting to happen. And it's certainly going to play a role as we move into our next step of the IG plan of action. And by the way, a little asterisk on this discussion, we're getting ready. We're on Lotus Notes for all of you who love that platform. I know there's at least one of you in the audience that's still on it. And, you know, we're looking at a migration. And the first thing that popped in my head was, how can we make this easier and a lot smoother? And this tool, I am confident that this tool is going to help us in more ways than we can conceive right now.
So I have this slide up which actually talks about the discount tire organization and the different stakeholders. Chris just mentioned a lot of those, and how, you know, it's definitely been a crawl, walk, run approach with each one of these stakeholders. Chris and I can tell you that we presented to all of this, I think probably every single member on this audience. We had CISOs there, we had the head of compliance, we had procurement, we had records, I think we had the CIO as well as IT director, CISO. So everyone in the room was present 2 years ago when we first installed this solution. But it has definitely been the crawl, walk, run for these different stakeholders to get on board. Thankfully, Chris and I are both loud and continue to point out to these different individuals about how the software and service can help their different departments. Would you say that it's something you're glad that we haven't given up on, Chris, and that we can finally now see that more of them are engaged in knowing that they have a product and service available to help go find their data assets and understand them?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I call it crawl, walk, run, jog, or no, crawl, walk, jog, run. There's a jog before you run. We're walking and starting to jog, but still walking a lot. And you know, it's just I do see the day when Chris is going to actually, well, first of all, isn't going to have to administer this because that's not my job, and second of all, is going to have a sponsor in our project management office. I call it a mini project manager, maybe, who can help the organization understand that we really have this tool that can be used as an asset. It is not a reactive tool that's just out there to use when we get sued, and that's, you know, that's the mindset. I mean, I give you an example: PCI, PII, no brainer. You got to have compliance. You got to conform with these audits. Insurance brokers want to know about this stuff, and so do some of the clients you're using. This tool is, you know, 10 seconds. You got it. It's going to tell you where you got data out there that you didn't necessarily know about. And by the way, we discovered it using it. So I'm speaking from a case study end of things. So, you know, the compliance in the EU. I mean, we don't have GDPR, I don't think. But I use the tool to figure out if we maybe actually have to be compliant under GDPR. You know, we have a lot of customers from a lot of places. I had no idea we had customers in Europe, but whatever. You know, we took care of that. So there's a lot of things that are out there that I really look forward to this tool just kind of being a button on everybody's computer, and they can use it as they need to. Now, not without constraints and
Right.
governance, but yeah, I mean, it really is, and that's my wish. eDiscovery is the proverbial pimple.
Well said. Well said. So the financial model, really the discount tire model covers about 20 terabytes of storage, even though Ricoh wouldn't care if it was 100 terabytes or in the petabytes. It covers unlimited litigation holds with minimal IT support needed, Lotus Notes email, as Chris said, on our way to Office 365, file shares for both corporate and regional stores, invoices, their learning management system, record system, of course SharePoint, claims data, all managed at one fixed monthly service fee to Discount Tire. That's compared to the traditional data discovery solutions that are typically priced on data volumes. Discount Tire has saved over 6 figures by no longer prescribing to that model. They've also benefited from a reduction in required FTE time spent on data searches. Obviously, the additional savings that we discussed with outside counsel fees, reviewing less data has just been huge. And of course, that traditional eDiscovery spend of collecting too much data, processing too much data, and again, reviewing too much data. I can say all of our customers are anywhere from 50 to 80% savings over their traditional eDiscovery spend. All right, let's look at a few of the capabilities of OpenAxes. Obviously, that includes data mapping, access audits, content audits, who has access to what, the risk analysis, retention management, duplication analysis at a global view, defensible deletion, access to live data, index metadata and unstructured data, MD5 hash, DNIST, Boolean and regex searching, machine learning, obviously data review all the way through redaction, production, processing out to relativity, and the file analysis trends. The application provides visualization of results to allow users to view and zoom in on relevant results easily. The out-of-the-box charts offers hits over time by custodians, file types, terms, and tagged content. Tags can be applied through auto-categorization and or manually via end-user review. This is actually a feature that our HR departments or internal investigation always love. This is hits on communication linkage, who has been communicating with who and about what. It's shown graphically, and additional users can be added to the investigation or removed to easily follow the email communication. Again, you can dive down into every single one of these graphs all the way down to viewing the user's emails. So could not be easier to use or understand. And then as Chris said, the integrated legal hold is also a value add to take care of the day-to-day workload of issuing and complying with legal hold workflows. So we keep talking about the software, but service. And that's because Ricoh has delivered this as both a software and a service. They've truly flipped the data management model upside down. They don't care how much data or how many departments in the organization are using OpenAxes. It's delivered as a service at a predictable fixed monthly price. Delivering it this way has made a huge impact on our customers. The cost savings from legal, IT, security, HR, compliance, and other business units are amazing. We're finally able to offer software combined with services to enable organizations to effectively manage their data. The ROI has been less than a year for every one of our customers. Besides needing a great advocate like Chris in your organization, you can be relieved there's finally a way to get your data management under control, and it doesn't cost you money. It actually saves you money and, as you like, saves you risk.
Amen.
With that, Mary Mac, do we have any questions from you?
We certainly do, and I'll save mine until I get through the audience questions. But we have a question on asking Chris if you can illuminate what were some of the differences and advantages that OpenAxes brought to the table that the previous solutions you tried did not deliver.
Sure. So advantages and disadvantages. First of all, just to frame this response, prior to OpenAxes, we had one other vendor that we were using. I think we had been a year with them. So, and we really hadn't explored the investigation side because they hadn't developed it. So that, we were on the administration side mainly, mostly, entirely. And then prior to that, it was a manual process, as I said. I mean, I think without reservation, I can tell you support is at the top of my list. And I'm a big, I demand that when we, I know the sales pitch. I know we get it in-house. It's going to do everything we want it to do. It's a one-stop shop. And guess what? Bye-bye sales. Here comes support, and I can't reach anybody. I can't get anything done. My requests are waiting 48 hours to get, response to. And that, and again, I'm not necessarily poking at our prior vendor because we really didn't go that in depth with them. But I can tell you with Ricoh and OpenAxes, it's been, it's within minutes. I know that's hard to believe, but it doesn't go more than a couple hours, and that's usually because somebody's in a meeting or I sent it to the wrong email address. Who knows? But the support has been wonderful. I think the other part, the investigation side, frankly, I don't have perspective with other utilities to really comment on that, but I have from an actual use case perspective, but from a talking around the communities and talking to my sisters and brothers who are in the in-house community and dealing with the investigation side of things, I don't think anybody has the extent and degree of functionality that we have with this platform. And I'll tell you, Jody was talking about the integration implementation. All the impediment has been on our side. Surprise, surprise. It's the corporate, it's the client who's actually causing the delay, and not on the Ricoh OpenAxes side. And I mean, I know it's hard to believe, and the stuff's all pie in the sky, but I'll tell you, tying into our endpoints has taken longer to get our CISO and our CIO and whoever else down there is making decisions, even after we've done it multiple times, than it's taken Ricoh and OpenAxes to actually do it, which is wonderful because that's what I need. And I'm reaching the point now where they've actually assigned an administrator for me down in IT, and we're not going to have those problems anymore. So hopefully that answers a little bit of your question.
That is fantastic, and we've got some questions rolling in now along the lines of being inside the corporate environment. How did you choose the on-premise versus the cloud or a hybrid solution?
What's that?
So that's a good question, and it's this is again part of it being a service because I actually think it's a little bit naive to just go into this and say, that we are going to sell you a widget or software and be out the door, because think of the model that we are doing. We are managing your data in all of these different repositories. So we typically install in-house because, a lot of the important information is on-premise. But an endpoint to us, so a data repository to us, can be located in the cloud. We do have a couple of customers where they actually install OpenAxes in our Microsoft Azure Ricoh environment, just because they have some of the challenges that Chris brought up with their IT department, or their IT department, just doesn't have the bandwidth, so they'd rather push the data up into our environment, and then we can review the data and cull it all down and, do all of our file analysis and stuff. So we have the option of being on-premise or in the cloud or a hybrid. But I definitely want to make it clear that, that's really where all organizations live these days. It's just a constant change, and that's a part of the service is, when Chris calls and says, okay, we're finally migrating up of Lotus Notes to Office 365, then, we take that journey with you and use the service and the software to help with that.
That was purely a hypothetical, by the way, from Jody.
Yeah.
Nothing official there for all you folks in the audience that work for Microsoft. The answer from my end is easy. Our CISO demanded it, and he has evolved. Initially it's, hell no, you're not putting anything in the cloud or off-prem, and then it's, oh, okay, now we start to see the size of the data you want to store, and lo and behold, now, present day, it's everything's in the cloud, Amazon, Google, all these places, and Azure, and so, that was that pull effect. So I think we fall in the hybrid category right now, but I have some reservations, but not a lot of reservations about going into the cloud for all this.
Well, I have a follow-up on that. And how did you get your internal IT department to allow the Ricoh software, the OpenAxes software, to crawl the network and endpoints?
That's all you.
Wow.
I'm
still wondering. Yeah, Chris is still wondering how that happened. Let's see, a lot of beer and wine. Is that answer responsive? No, it's they demanded the information, and our CISO, who I love and adore, is very conservative. He comes from a government background, so thank the Lord, because this private company is going to be in better shape than a lot of public companies are from a lot of information security perspectives. But I'm telling you, it doesn't help for me to say all the bigs are already out there and they're doing it. Don't worry about it. He wants to see the information. He sat in on several of our meetings, and if he didn't, he sent his anointed delegate. And frankly, that's probably why we're getting a lot of the pull now, because I got the IT guys coming to me and saying, how can we use this? And we have that collaboration and partnership, which, a lot of places dream about.
Fantastic. And Jody and Chris, how important is it, do you think, to have a dedicated IT liaison for legal to implement a solution like this?
Imperative.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we did it without, so it's not impossible. But there was always, there was the after 5 and the before 8 fill-in that I was getting. It was because, frankly, this organization and every organization out there right now is sucking from a fire hose. So I get it. We're low on assets. We got resource issues and all those things. But we made it work, and a lot of it was, I talk about that support piece. I've been on the phone at 10 o'clock at night with Ricoh's support, and the guy who designed this stuff and knows about it. And it's just, that's what we needed. And so that, and eventually things slowed down enough for me to jump in that space and get them to give us some more support. And so that's pretty much how it happened.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, we've got a question from a city. Are there governmental agencies, specifically municipalities, using OpenAxes?
Yeah, actually, that was one of my first installs, Maricopa County. I can actually name them because they've done a big case study, which Maricopa County being the 4th largest county in the country, they don't typically do case studies, but the CIO was so happy with the outcomes of this that he went to the executive board and asked if they could do a public case study. So when I met with Maricopa County, they, as you can imagine, if you haven't heard of Maricopa County, then I'm surprised. We have somebody by the name of Sheriff Joe that has typically had us in a lot of news stories, and they may or may have not been in trouble with the federal government. So the amount of public records requests that this agency got was just, massive, from media to, just so many people being interested in what was going on here in Arizona, which is where Chris and I both are. So when we met with Maricopa and they heard about the solution, and they were actually said that, this we can afford. So once we installed, they tested the software against one public records request where they had actually had a high-level person in IT searching through data for over 6 weeks. And after we installed the software, they ran a test case, and we found all of the data plus data they missed in 2.5 hours. So you can imagine the ROI has been huge. And I actually just came back from the NACO conference, a big county conference for the whole United States, and the stress that these agencies are under to keep up with their FOIA requests and these public records requests is huge. And we have an offering specific for our government agencies, as well as the specific contracts that they need to use to procure. So we are definitely help them, and we're definitely solving that problem for them. Good question.
This is Chris. I just had a little PS to that. That was part of the due diligence I was referring to. I actually went to lunch with the representatives of Maricopa County, and when Jody told me how much of their data is on lit hold, I almost fell out of my chair. But then I remembered they're kind of like an asbestos manufacturer. I mean, you're going to be on hold, and you're going to be on hold for a long time, and you better make darn sure you got stuff on hold that you need to have on hold, because if anybody's going to get tested, it's going to be Sheriff Joe and his organization. He's running for Congress now too, by the way. But that wasn't a plug.
So along those lines, can you search using patterns for items like social security numbers, credit card numbers, and things like that?
Absolutely. So it has all pattern recognition, which is great because it's different for each organization, right? So the credit cards, the social security numbers, those are the obvious ones. But then, it could be claims numbers. It could be employee numbers. I mean, Chris, you could part numbers for you guys, VIN numbers.
I won't tell you how many transactions we do a year, but it's tens of millions, and those are all captured in invoicing. And we need to search for license plates, or we need to search for a particular transaction pattern, a flat repair or rotation, or we need to search, you name it. As long as the data exists, it's going to go look for it. And we just recently tested. I'm very excited about it because that's probably one of our biggest areas of holds. But more importantly, as AI goes and moving forward with analytics and BI, I love all these acronyms. That was artificial intelligence and business intelligence. They are both going to test me and test the boundaries of the system. I'm confident.
Fantastic. And like on a broader question, how can OpenAxes help with bigger information governance goals like defensible deletion or policy management, looking at dark data, those type of things?
Yeah, so we offer all of that. That's what's kind of interesting about it. In fact, Chris is always good at asking me, so what's different about, OpenAxes versus this solution? And it's really hard because the solution, again, offered as a service, it really straddles all of those different areas, which is why we call it an IG solution, because we do have that functionality. In fact, we've added a records retention group that partners with us in our team because we do all of those things. We do defensible deletion, where we can actually send the data to the specific business units, and then they approve that, yes, this is ready for disposition. The software can delete it. It could just move it over to tertiary cheaper storage for a period of time before they actually do press the delete button, because that terrifies everyone. but it has that full data management capability. So everything you just, talked about in asked, absolutely it has that capability. It has that complete file analysis, so we can delete the data, we can move the data, we can put the data on hold, we can set retention policies, we can audit it. We have that full capabilities, the legal hold and the eDiscovery, albeit an extremely important part of it. That's just one piece in the complete data management, because that's exactly what it is. It is the complete data management, not just one piece.
Excellent, excellent. And once installed, will the end user be trained to administer it, or would the administration be done by Ricoh and OpenAxes? For example, if new pieces of technology came online, or there were some changes in migrations.
Yeah, so again, that's a reason that we make it a part of the service. So obviously, we do the install, we help the configuration to all the different data repositories. Then we train the IT department as well as legal or, HR, the different business units of it. But then it's that, constant ongoing support. And, even though we may have somebody in the legal department that is running their own searches, we all know, like those big scale litigations, when you get those long search strings, then it's a matter of, like Chris said, that's when you pick up the phone and you call our team, and we help you put together those search strings and help you all the way through production, or if it needed to go to downstream review. So absolutely, it's all included in the service to train the corporation, but we're also there with you on a daily basis when you need to add a new data repository, or you just need help for whatever comes up. We always get those calls. It's always interesting. The county's adding a new jail management system, or so-and-so has a litigation. It's always interesting, and it's the full support.
Fantastic. And can you talk a little bit about the stakeholders in terms of deciding on moving forward with a system like that? Can you identify some of the, obviously legal is a stakeholder, IT is a stakeholder, security. Can you identify some of the other key stakeholders, and any advice on people starting from scratch to convince those stakeholders to move?
Yeah, so this is Chris. Well, first of all, it depends on how the organization is structured, and one thing I've learned in 4 years of being in-house is nobody has any consistency in their org chart. Risk is under HR in some places, risk is under ops in other places. Hell, we got information security living down in IT in some respects, and other organizations put it in risk. It's all over the place. So it really, I was blessed because I had most of the people at the table that I frankly and selfishly cared about to get this in the door and get going, which was me, and then the folks in risk. And risk was comprised of information security at the time, and we had a dotted line to IT, which was nice. And then from there, it was just talking about it. And I continue to talk about it and think about it and just try and get, kind of spark that curiosity around the house. I know HR now has traction with it. I know our employment lawyers are using it on holds, and I know that that the actual HR department is going to start using it for more of their investigations, which frankly is a miracle in most organizations, because that's kind of hallowed ground and stuff we don't touch. I'm looking at it from what we call the omni-channel direction in this organization, advertising and marketing and digital media and those kind of things where they need to go out and review. Frankly, for eDiscovery side, we need to go out and review what we have out there over the years and to have amassed in all the dark corners of this office. And then also, what's being amassed, well, we don't know about it in certain places that are near and dear to my heart, like Apple iClouds and Vimeo and all these other things that just pop up every day without us really knowing about it. So that whole area and the traction that's occurring is just because we're talking about it, and I have a good support structure, and we have a really neat organization makeup that every business segment has a representative that's collaborating with the same representative in other business segments. So I went right to her and said, you need to learn about this. You need to see this in action. You need to see demonstrations. And, you know, as we all know, we got to say things and read things 3 times, and that's what we've been doing around here. I mean, I just keep inviting the same people plus one to the presentations and the discussions, and it's finally starting to take off. So, you know, I like it.
Interesting. So we have a question from someone who's in a small in-house litigation department that doesn't have a lot of litigation, a consumer products company, currently tracking legal holds on a spreadsheet, doesn't have a data map, uses outside counsel and eDiscovery vendors for litigation matters, and does not have any eDiscovery software or hardware in-house. How would you start to bring that forward to sell the internal stakeholders on the importance of a solution like this?
Bring me in.
Yeah, I would say obvious answer, but not so obvious, is really do your homework and learn as much as you can about the functionality of this platform before you start talking about it. Now, I'm not saying I did that because I've kind of learned as I've moved along here, but it has complexities, but at the high level discussion point, it makes a lot of sense. It really does, and I'll tell you that model you just described is us. We don't have, and that's the knock I've heard from the bigs is, hey Chris, that's all cool, that's great, but you guys don't have a lot of litigation to put holds on, so go back and work on something else. And I say, well, that's fine, but when and if that happens, we're prepared, and it's such a blessing to be in an organization that is not straddled with litigation and reacting to all this garbage that's flying around in terms of litigation holds and discovery requests and everything else. I mean, build it while you can, because it's not going to last. Trust me. And we're reaching that point now where I'm going to be very, very happy to see that we have this infrastructure in place. And I had the opportunity to get it stood up before we got hammered by another large-scale litigation that, frankly, would have just completely compromised us.
Excellent. So now I've got a more specific question. Jody, is OpenAxes compatible with other records management systems such as Tyler or Archive Social? Or do all of the records need to be in a specific format to be searchable or discoverable by the service?
No, so those are just typical document management systems. We get that a lot where people think, oh, if you're able to, deduplicate data or apply retention schedules, they start thinking, oh, this is a document management system, because that's, to me what those sound like. I think I know the name Tyler. But that's the benefit of OpenAxes is, I think the records gal that I speak with a lot, Julie Harvey, she always talks about, like Chris said, oh, that's so 2002 or 2007 to think that all of your employees are going to put their records in the document management system, and then we know where to search because that system has full search capability. Well, as Chris said, then the cloud was invented and mobility happened, and we all know, at least every attorney on this phone knows, that data resides everywhere. And you have to be able to answer to that fact that you have reasonably searched everywhere, because even if you don't, somebody else will or can. So that is, was really the whole purpose of where OpenAxes got their start over 3 years ago, was the fact that we needed to search everywhere. So we can search those document management systems, but we can also search the file shares, we can search the laptops, we can search the, the SharePoints, the Lotus Notes, the Exchange. I can go on and on and on. So that's, we talked about the discount tire environment alone, having the regional servers, the invoices, the learning management systems, the record system, and that's what we do, is we are running that search on all of those systems at one time. We're also deduplicating across all of those systems at one time. And, we're really giving you that global view of locating that data. Did that answer that completely for that person?
Yes, thank you. We have one last question. So if others have some, please serve them up. And the question is, notwithstanding cost predictability and an all-in-one solution, how would you rate each individual solution? For example, the ECA, the processing, analytics, legal hold, when compared to standalone solutions from other industry leaders?
I'm not sure that I should be the person that can answer that, because I
you might be a little biased.
Yeah. So I think I will let Chris answer that. But like I said, we straddle every single one of those. I always think of it as, we have our not so technical tentacles into all of your data repositories. So, we can, like we said, we can deduplicate it, we can search it, we could put it on legal hold, we can move it, we can give you file analysis on it. We now have machine learning. So when we are, inserted into all of those different data repositories, all of those capabilities are a reality. So I wouldn't really say one is better than the other, because they're all possible.
Yeah, so my perspective is limited, full disclosure, transparency. So I mean that, and I think I had kind of outlined that earlier in terms of what the universe is. But I'll tell you this, I can't tell you how many vendors I've heard this from. If we can't do it, we'll build it. And I have a lot of experience with that phrase playing out and demonstrating to me that that all-in-one solution isn't really that all-in-one solution. And I'm not saying this is that all-in-one solution, but I will tell you that everything I've thrown at them, OpenAxes and Ricoh, in terms of, hey, can we do this, can we do that? If it didn't exist because they built it for somebody else, they've made it happen, and it works. So I mean, that's where it's trust, and you build trust, and it's an evolution, but so far we're continuing in the right direction. So that's where my level of confidence comes with that arena.
Fantastic, and I want to be respectful of everybody's time. We're at the top of the hour. Jody has put her contact information on the slide, jody.weber, Weber with 2 B's, at ricoh-usa.com. And so that if you have additional questions, you can reach out directly to Jody, and I'm sure she'd be able to put you in touch with Chris. So I want to thank you both, Chris and Jody. What a fabulous product and service showcase. Thank you for showing us the system. And Chris, thank you for sharing your experience and how you were able to move it in-house and what you've been able to do with it. We're very proud of our relationship with Ricoh. Ricoh is one of our affiliate partners that coincidentally will be sponsoring our cruise down the Potomac at ILTA. So we're hoping that we'll see some of you who are online at ILTA, and we would look forward to seeing all of you on another summer school. We're keeping going until Labor Day. at the ACEDS webinar channel. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
Bye.